I want to introduce you to a good friend of mine. Andrew has an interesting life that he's lived and is not over yet, but there are some wonderful stories that I reckon we'd be encouraged to hear. Andrew, let me start. Where did life begin for you?
It was a little town south of here called Cambridge.
And what was family life like for you growing up as a child?
The first 5 years of my life was consistently in and out of hospital. At the age of 6, I moved to Auckland, became a ward of the state.
But there must be a reason behind that.
My father was a horrible alcoholic and he left my mother, and my mother couldn't cope.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, most of your, or in fact all of your life really, you've been in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
What's the condition that you have for which you need to be in a wheelchair?
It's called spina bifida, where the nerves and stuff in the spine, they've gone all the way down, but then there's a gap and they haven't knitted together. So the messages from my brain to get my legs to work is stopped.
When did they discover that you had spina bifida?
As soon as I came out, and they turned me over and I had a hole in my back.
What are some of the earliest memories that you have of not having the same kind of mobility, say, as other children had?
I used a wheelchair. I got my first one, would have been about 3 or 4, something like that. Before then I either was carried around or in a pram, I think you called them.
Sticking with the medical side of things, you've had more surgeries than anybody I know.
One less than one per year at the moment. I've had 48 surgeries, and I've still got 2 more to go, I found out recently.
And these are all to do with the spina bifida condition or the other effects of it? Or?
Yeah, partly to do with it, and also other side effects that come with being the way I am. As I've always said to the doctors, it'd be better if they just put a zipper in me.
But despite being in a wheelchair, despite all these surgeries, from what I know of you, it hasn't kind of slowed you down.
If someone says I can't do something, I have to go out and do it. And I've done furniture restoration, cabinet making, worked in shops, a whole range of things, whatever seizes me at the moment.
At the moment, yeah. So being in a chair hasn't been a limiting factor for you?
To me, the wheelchair is just my mode of transportation.
Some people might think that being in a chair, your activities in life are quite limited. But that's actually not been my observation. You've done all sorts of things.
I've just done rock wall climbing, which was a great experience. I've done the sea biscuit. In my teenage years I represented New Zealand in track and field. I competed for 10 years, and after that I became a personal trainer and helped a friend get to 3 Paralympics through wheelchair rugby.
And don't forget that you've also been and mowed my lawn.
Yes.
On my ride-on lawnmower.
Yes. That was a great experience.
I mean, you've also had, I know, a bit of a colourful past. You've spent a bit of time on the wild side there. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've been up to.
In my younger day, I got mixed up in drugs.
Was that peer pressure, or was it in any way sort of compensating, or?
It was a form of escapism. I wasn't happy at that time in my life, and there was a lot of things going on, and I was trying to bury things that had happened in my childhood, and drugs at the time were the answer. Fortunately I survived it and found that there was a higher answer.
How did you get clean of drugs?
Did it cold turkey.
Grit and determination.
Yeah, decided it was okay, this is not for me. I'd seen too many people die, and I'd got to the point where, okay, I've got a choice. Either I can become a statistic or get on and start fighting.
Where did God become more than just a name in your world?
Even in the darker times, I can now look back and see God was always there. It's like that poem about footprints in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the dark times, God was there and carrying me.
Mm. Oh, it's a neat poem, that, isn't it?
It is.
During the difficult times, there's only one set of footprints, and I think as the poem goes, the person
thinks
was
they're
resentful. Why did you abandon me?
Yeah.
And God says no. Actually, it was during those times
that I carried you.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you come from a religious family?
Definitely not. No. I'm the only one that had discovered God. December the 19th, 1999. I was going through another one of those troubled times, and I met a pastor. He kept on hanging around. He wasn't in my face about God, but he'd invite me to church and stuff, and I'd always find a reason not to go. Until there was one particular night, I couldn't sleep. I was restless. I said, okay, God, if you're ready to have me in your team, you're taking on a heck of a lot for one thing. But I decided that I'd go to the church the next morning, Sunday, and I said, okay, if Mark's there, I'll go up the front and join the team, as it were. I woke up the next morning and I did go to church, and lo and behold, he wasn't there. And they did the altar call thing, and I was sitting there and I was having this, I don't know, like in a battle. And then all of a sudden, it was like my chair was just going forward of its own volition, propelling itself, and I was going this way, trying to pull it back. It was at that moment, and I went up the front and gave my heart to the Lord.
And I'm guessing that from that moment on, everything in your life has been absolutely fantastic, right?
No, it's not all hearts and flowers stuff.
Let me ask you this. It's probably a little bit of a dicey question. Now that you know God for yourself, do you ever look back on your life and feel cross, angry, bitter, disappointed that God, made you in this way?
No, not at all. I believe that God made me this way for a reason. If this is the journey that I was supposed to take, then I'm pleased I did. I want to make a difference through knowing God and through having God in my life, that I can serve Him and show that there is a better way.
Now, I know that people who live their life in a chair, like you, are sometimes misunderstood, or people don't quite know how to relate to you or react, that sort of thing. And I'm aware that at times there are rather unfortunate, silly, perhaps not intentioned things said, but they actually can be quite sort of disconcerting and even hurtful.
Yeah, I was out with a group of friends one night at a restaurant, and the waiter came along and he went around the table and he took everybody's order, and then it came to me, and he then turned to the person sitting next to me and said, well, what will he have? And the table went quiet, and I turned around and I says, well, I'll have your manager and your job.
But the assumption was that because you're in a chair,
that I could not communicate.
You're a non-person in a sense, or
yeah. The manager came over and I told him what had happened, and didn't see that waiter for the rest of the night.
Even in the context of Christian circles, the church, there are times even, well-meaning, I'm sure it's not intention, but there are dumb things that people say.
If you're in a room and it's like, go around the obstacle course and come this way.
People say that.
Yes, I've experienced that.
How does that make you feel?
Well, one learns self-control through the grace of God. The wheelchair does not define who I am. As I've said, it's just my way of getting around, just like you use your legs. I use the wheelchair. I don't know whether it's people feeling awkward because they want to relate, but they don't know how. But just seeing me for me is the best way to relate to me. Don't see this because this is inconsequential.
That's simply a mode of transportation.
Mode of transportation.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you regard yourself as disabled?
No, I don't.
So what are words like disabled or able-bodied? What
They're labels.
They're labels? Yeah.
They're labels. I had an occupational therapist come out to a house I was living at where I needed a ramp put in. She was looking through her folder and she was looking through it and then looking at me and looking back down. Eventually I said, "Is there a problem?" And she said, "Well, yes, you don't fit in any of my boxes." And I said, "Well, that's really good then, isn't it? Because I don't want to be..."
You don't want to be classified or defined in a box. You're one of these, Because if that applied to you, that would apply to everybody.
And I'm a rebel for God.
How has being a follower of Jesus changed you?
It's changed me in so many ways. I mean, in ways that I didn't even realize until I had more moments of reflection and just how I'm not the person I was prior to that meeting with God. I have a totally different outlook on life.
Sense of hope?
Yeah, hope and belief that there is a better calling.
How can we as a community love you more, support you more, be family to you?
Just keep doing what you're doing. For the first time in my life, I really feel like I belong. And to feel that it's an amazing feeling.
That hasn't always been part of your journey?
No, for a long time it was like standing on the outside looking in. I don't have that anymore. I know that there is one particular thing that Nicola feels. She sort of feels like people regard her as the wife of the guy in the wheelchair. And I don't quite see it that way.
You're both people in your own right.
Yeah, exactly. And she's got her giftings and stuff that she wants to share to the church and community in her own way, just as I do things in my own way.
Yep. Are you ready for this, Andrew?
Yeah, I am. But is it ready for me?